All right, so the next set of tools that I'm going to show you how to work with here inside Illustrator include the line tool, the arc tool, and a couple of grid tools. And once again, I've removed everything off of my screen just by deleting everything. I select it all by hitting Command A or Control A and deleting. All right, now this shape flyout, I'm going to get rid of him just by clicking on the red X in the top left corner. And the set of tools that we're going to work with next are these guys right here inside the toolbox. As a matter of fact, I will grab the tearaway for this set of tools. And I'll start things off here with the line tool. Now, I have to say this, I'm not going to spend a massive amount of time on this because I find that I don't use these tools very often. But I will make you aware of how they work here inside Illustrator. So, drawing straight lines inside Illustrator, no problem. Click and drag, easy stuff. No problems at all. Hold down Option or Alt on the Windows side to draw a straight line from the center rather than drawing it from one end or the other. So Option or Alt to draw from the center there if you like. Or of course I could single click if I wanted to, and I wind up with my line segment options dialog box where I could specify the length of my line and of course the angle of my line if I so wish. There we are, something like that. So no big deal there with your line tool. Of course, while I'm dragging with the line tool as well, if I hold down the Shift key, that will lock me into the nearest 45-degree angle. So if you want perfectly straight lines, you can certainly do so just by holding down the Shift key. That's all there is to creating perfectly straight lines here inside Illustrator. Okay, let's get rid of all this stuff. Command A, delete, Control A, delete on the Windows side. Next guy up is the arc tool. I really can't remember the last time I've needed to draw arcs in this fashion, but you certainly can here inside Illustrator if you need to. I'm just clicking and dragging here with my arc tool, or of course I can hold down the Shift key and drag to create these sort of perfect arcs here. I can hold down Option or Alt to draw my arc from the center. This is all the same stuff as the line tool, no big deal. And of course, don't forget I can single click with my tool and I wind up inside this dialog box. So I can specify the starting point and the ending point and the type of arc I want to create. I'm going to try creating a closed arc. This is actually something that's kind of cool. And I'll just click on OK. And I wind up with an arc, but notice it's a closed shape. It's a closed object. In other words, I could go back to my selection tool here inside the toolbox, grab these handles here, and I can actually pull on these sides, and I have myself a closed object here. Once again, I'll get rid of everything inside my document here. The next guy we have is the spiral tool. I don't think I've ever actually used this tool before. No, I'm kidding. I never used this guy, though. You can click and drag with this guy, create these really... People go crazy for this stuff. They think it's amazing to draw seashells and things like this. Now, let me show you a couple of things. I can use my up and down arrow keys here if I want to wind my spiral tighter there or unwind my spiral there. So this is just my up and down arrow keys here. So you can certainly do that if you like. As I'm clicking and dragging here with the spiral tool, I'm holding down my Option key here on the Mac or Alt on the Windows side, and that appears to do nothing at all. However, if I hold down Command on the Mac here or Control on the Windows side, I can actually tighten or loosen my spiral there if I want. So you can certainly do that if you like. Or again, don't forget, you can always single click with your tool and you wind up inside a dialog box. So I'll set my radius here and the amount of decay that I would like for my lovely spiral. How many spins around the spiral would I like? I'm going to go for 8 and maybe something like this. And I'll click on OK there, something like that. So I have 8 little path segments along there. Now, something that we'll take a look at in our chapter on type is creating type on a path. Imagine we had some text that ran all the way around the length of a spiral. So maybe that's a practical use for your spiral tool. Anyway, let's get rid of everything here. Let's take a quick look at your grid tools. We have 2 of them here. We have our rectangular grid tool and our polar grid tool. So I'll start things off here with the rectangular grid tool. Click and drag to create a grid there, no problems. Hold down Shift as you're dragging and you'll get perfect squares inside your grid. And of course I can single click with the tool and I wind up inside yet another dialog box where I can type in some values here, my width and height, the number of dividers horizontally, I will say 7, and the number of dividers vertically, I will say 3. Okay, there we are, something like that. So anyway, there you are. There's the rectangular grid tool, and of course the polar grid tool. This guy's kind of cool. If you ever want to make little targets and things like this, don't forget, hold down Shift there to draw perfect shapes, or of course single click and you wind up inside your dialog box. All right, so there's your grid tools. There's your line, arc, and spiral tool as well.